What's going on, everybody? David Jones, Tenacious D Jones here, doing a little solo stream. I think it's my first solo stream ever. So I don't know. I'll try and keep up my end of the bargain. Hopefully, we can win some monies. Little 3-game NBA slate today. Probably won't take too long. Hop in the Discord and ask me some questions. I will answer them as I can. It's going to be hard to type and answer in Discord. So if you're watching the show, I guess you're asking the questions. I'll answer on the show. We're good to go. And after this, we'll get back to some March Madness. It's been pretty crazy so far. So, look, first game, Dallas Mavericks versus Charlotte Hornets. Got to see the Charlotte Hornets last week in a bludgeoning against the New Orleans Pelicans. But here's the deal. Spencer Dinwiddie been ruled out, been playing great, but he's not going to be playing today. We got news that Reggie Bullock, who would have stepped into the starting lineup like he usually does, has also been ruled out. So we have to figure out who's going to slide into the starting lineup there. I tend to think it's going to be Josh Green. It's not guaranteed yet. We don't have that yet, but regardless whether he steps into the starting lineup or not, he's going to be a good value. I think I have him in my core. He's going to get some minutes. He's only 4,000 over on DraftKings. He's played about an average of like 18 and a half minutes over the last 3 games when Spencer Dinwiddie was starting. We saw him get 36 against Houston in what wasn't it was kind of a blowout. The score doesn't indicate it as much, but he's a guy who can step in and get some time with these 2 other guys out. Look, obviously there's going to be a ton of usage going Luka's way, as there always is. It helps that Spencer Dinwiddie, slightly helps. It's still Luka. Helps that Spencer Dinwiddie's not in because he's a ball handler and is going to take up some shots and, again, been playing well. But Luka is going to have to be the guy I lock in, I think, to every lineup I have tonight. Going up against Charlotte, who people like to shit on is having a terrible defense. It has not actually been bad or the worst, I would say, like over the past 2 weeks or months or so. They've been like middle of the pack, but it really doesn't matter when you're going up against Luka and the defense of the Cavs or the Mavs. I think it's close. I'll have to see if it's close. It's going to be all Luka. I'm looking at some Charlotte rankings right now, how they're doing defensively against the small forward, allowing a lot of points, actual points, not fantasy points. So against the small forward, which you're going to have Jalen Green or Josh Green. I mix up the Greens. Likely stepping into the starting lineup, allowing 23.62 actual points at 6th worst in the league, allowing 42.79 fantasy points. That's about middle of the pack, allowing more assists than average, allowing more 3-pointers than average, allowing almost 7 rebounds per game. That's good. It's a good spot to attack on Charlotte. And I think clicking through everything, it's the best spot to attack. Small forward, power forward, center. Yeah, it's the best spot to attack. 4,000. Hopefully he steps into the starting lineup. He'll be one of my favorite values on the slate. I already mentioned that I'm locking in Mr. Luka. I think he outscores LeBron James, and I am slightly concerned. We have LeBron questionable tonight. I don't think it's guaranteed he's going to play. So this is what's going on with the Lakers. They're garbage, but they're going to be in the play-in spot regardless, no matter what. Well, we'll see if they're in the 9 or 10. Is that right? 9 or 10, 9 or 8 seed, but they can't really move too much either way. They're going to have to win a game or 2 to get into the playoffs. I could see LeBron resting, coming in from Toronto down to Washington. Don't have news on that yet. We know Carmelo's back. We're going to have to wait for the LeBron news. If he's out, it's going to throw an absolute wrench into this entire slate. But either way, even if he does play, I think that Luka outscores him, and I'm pretty confident in that. LeBron got to 60 last night. It was in an overtime game with clutch Russ Westbrook knocking down a 3 to send it into overtime. That was pretty cool. I know everyone was watching March Madness, but I was invested in that game. I had some good lineups last night. I had a lot of Lauri Markkanen, who was on the cheat sheet. I wasn't on the show or didn't do the article yesterday, but that went very, very well. He's Lauri Markkanen also in a good spot today. Breaking down the rest of the Mavs. So you're going to have your starters are going to be Luka, Brunson, DFS, Powell. I'm hoping Green. I think Green slides into it. I don't think they're going to put Kleber in the starting lineup. They could, though. He would be the other candidate to start at 3,900 going up against Charlotte. That would be fine. We have to wait and see. Either way, both of those guys are super cheap, and you could get either one of them into your lineup. Like I said, I already prefer Green. But if Kleber starts, then maybe it's Kleber. He's going to be the first guy in off the bench. Powell at center, not in a bad spot, but I would prefer to go with Mason Plumlee on the other side, who's, I think, $300 more than Kleber. Moving over to Charlotte, looking at how Dallas has been against the center recently, it hasn't been great, or it hasn't been as good as like we're used to seeing. So it's about middle of the pack there. One thing that sticks out is they're allowing, I believe it's the third or the second most rebounds over the past 2 weeks. Let me sort. Second most rebounds over the past 2 weeks to the center. That's a lot. 18.11 per game rebounds to the center. We see Mason Plumlee stepping into bigger minutes the past 2 games. Pull plum dog up. I feel like I'm going in Matrix mode, like they tell me I start talking too quick. So throw some questions and help break me up a little bit. 22 minutes last game, I was mistaken, but got up to 33 fantasy points. 28 before that, up against Oklahoma City. The game stays close. He's likely in. Hopefully it stays close. And it's a great spot to target against Dallas. And there's really no good as far as betting goes. There's really no great spots to target against Dallas. They're tough against the guards. They're tough against the forwards. They're tough against the center as far as fantasy points goes, but they've been giving it up as far as rebounding goes. So I do like Plumlee. I think he's my favorite center on the slate, price per dollar. Other guys you could consider, like your spin ups, Evan Mobley, that's a good spot for him. 7-7. He's probably too cheap. Porzingis, not guaranteed he plays on a back to back. Last night, what was it? The Knicks revenge narrative for Porzingis, 29 minutes. Most he's played on Washington, I'm pretty sure. So if he does play, I expect him to be held back a little bit, but he's also a guy that could sit out. We'll have to wait and see. On him. Mason Plumlee probably going to be my guys. What's the other Charlotte guys go? Charlotte's an interesting team always because you know who's going to get minutes. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys you can count on minutes for, and that's LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, Mason Plumlee. Those are your starters. And then you're going to get Kelly Oubre minutes off the bench with Montrezl Harrell as well. Oubre hasn't been playing as many minutes lately. He hasn't cracked 20 in his last 4 games. That's somewhat concerning. On a 3-game slate, I could see you taking a shot on him, but he's not one of my favorite guys. Montrezl Harrell, he's averaging about 20 minutes over the past 4 games. They've been playing him alongside Mason Plumlee somewhat. And interestingly enough, well, not sometimes they actually have the 2 big men on the court at the same time. Interestingly enough, they don't correlate that negatively. So if you wanted to play them both in the same lineup, I guess you could, but I would lean Plumlee over that. If you don't have Plumlee, then Montrezl Harrell would be a nice pivot, a way to get some exposure against the Dallas Mavericks, who I already mentioned are giving up a lot of rebounds to the center recently. LaMelo Ball, I mean, I'm not that interested. I haven't been that interested in LaMelo Ball for, it feels like, months now. I mean, yeah, great game against Atlanta recently. Like, he can throw up 40 easily, but Dallas against point guards are really good. I'll tell you exactly what they're doing. I'm going to have to scroll down. Dallas allowing 46.07 to the entirety of the point guards that they're facing. That includes starter and a guy coming off the bench. 46 is not a lot, allowing 22.4 points. That's about average. Rebounds about 6.5. Assists 8.3. They're very good, limiting blocks, limiting 3-pointers, limiting turnovers. And if you have to rank them, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth best team defending the point guard over the past 14 days, and that is going to be the best on the slate by far. So they're good at defending the point guard. Really, really no surprise there. So not too interested in LaMelo. He probably wouldn't be in my main lineup. I'd have some exposure in MME stuff for sure. 3-game slate, like he could have a game like he had last year. That's fine. Against a shooting guard, Dallas. Scrolling down, the Dallas Mavericks are the best team defending the shooting guard over the past 14 days. Not great for Terry Rozier, only allowing 34.78 points to the shooting guard. That's better than 1 point to the next best team. That's the Utah Jazz, followed by the Denver Nuggets. Worst team on the slate and in the league is the Los Angeles Lakers. So we would talk about that, targeting them with a shooting guard. But Terry Rozier, not a good spot for him. Not a ton of interest. Miles Bridges, price is up. Don't love the spot. PJ Washington, minutes aren't always where you want him to be. He's kind of like just a GPP guy. I'm not real interested. I'm not real interested in a lot of the Charlotte guys. Like if y'all can't tell that. So if I had to pick one Charlotte guy, it's going to be Plum Dog. Thoughts on stacking the Dallas game by JJ Frick? Good dude. Thoughts on stacking it? Second highest game total on the slate. Charlotte's favored by 1. They could pull that off. I think Charlotte probably does win here. It's the worst defensive matchup on the slate for Charlotte. Like, they're in the toughest spot defensively, and they spread out the minutes enough to not make me like super interested in it. So no, I'm not stacking the game. Now, I was running some projections earlier, and I was using fantasy ceiling. And what was interesting about that, when I was using fantasy ceiling and doing like some of the FTN Opto stuff, that I was getting a ton of Charlotte. But that's also, I mean, when you use the ceiling, that just means that it's their best game ever. It doesn't really matter. I was getting like 7 Charlotte guys. It's not going to happen. And I shouldn't have even brought that up because that might be confusing, but that's just using their best game ever of their career. So no, I'm not stacking it up. I don't mind getting 2 or 3 Charlotte guys, but it's just not a good spot for Charlotte. Dallas is good defensively, so hope that answers your question. If y'all have any like player, if y'all have any player questions, let me know. Don't you want ceiling on smaller slates? No, because like, so there's so many different things that go into a player's ceiling game, right? It doesn't, when you use the opto like that, it doesn't take into account what guys were in, what guys were out. You'll get LaMelo, you'll get Rozier, you'll get Oubre, who's dropped 50. You'll get PJ Washington when he had a 45-point game over the past 2 years. Now, if you were to put in rules to like limit these guys, right, for like that don't correlate great, like I don't like to play like Kelly Oubre and LaMelo Ball in the same lineup. If you limited it, it's going to help cut those combinations, but it's not taking into account what guys were in and what guys were out. So no, not exactly. I see where your head's at there, but no, not exactly. Any more questions about that game? Drop them in. I'll go back to them. Next game, we're waiting on Cade Cunningham news. Let me refresh and see if we've seen anything on that, because we don't know that he's going to play. He was out the past couple games with an illness, non-COVID related. Detroit's not trying to win. They're not like trying to rush him back. They're probably actually trying to lose. So we'll have to wait and see. We're also waiting to see on Killian Hayes, who took a shot to the head or something last game. Let Saban Lee come in and have a fantastic game. If Cade Cunningham and Killian Hayes are out, that means Corey Joseph, Isaiah Stewart, Marvin Bagley. No, that means, sorry, Killian Hayes. Okay. Corey Joseph, Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey, Grant, and probably Saban Lee may start, but we have to wait and see. We don't really know. So if Cade's in, you can pretty much cross Saban Lee off your list. If Killian Hayes is in, you can cross Saban Lee off your list. If Killian Hayes is out, Saban Lee will still get time off the bench. Let's see. Yeah, that's all good. We just have to wait on the news, folks. Just have to wait on the news. Sadiq Bey's been playing phenomenally, or at least he did play phenomenally. Kyle Murray's MVP of the league. Last game against Orlando, dropping 78.75 fantasy points. Don't expect that again if Cade Cunningham is out. I would say the best spot to target on the Pistons, and which is somewhat scary because I don't know if the Pistons can hang in this game against Cleveland. Had a game last night. It's actually going to be a center position. So I like to just sort. Y'all know this by now. I like to sort by who's giving up the most fantasy points. The Cavs are terrible against the center with no Jared Allen. Terrible. The only 2 teams that have been worse than them are the Houston Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Cavs are 3rd worst, giving up 61.21 fantasy points per game, including 27.82 real points to the center. Now, this is kind of like a situation like we got with Mitchell Robinson a few days ago, where he was in a great spot, but his minutes just aren't guaranteed because of foul trouble and what have you. It's the same thing kind of with Isaiah Stewart. He's essentially the same guy as Mitchell Robinson with lower upside. If Stewart can get to 30 minutes in this game, it is a great spot for Stewart at 4,800. He gets better if Cade Cunningham is in because they have a better chance of keeping the game closer, I would think. But I think Isaiah Stewart, man, actually, I know he's in a great spot. I just worry about the minutes. I worry about the foul trouble. If Isaiah Stewart does get into foul trouble, Marvin Bagley is the perfect pivot, right? Because when Stewart's not in, Bagley gets starts. When Stewart gets in foul trouble, Bagley gets more minutes. Bagley's playing good, and usually shows up in the second half. Like he's starting slow as shit, but then he starts putting it together. So if you don't have Isaiah Stewart, I'd really consider some Marvin Bagley, because someone's going to eat against this Cleveland center position. I would have to think they've been just terrible. Sadiq Bey, if you want to go back to him, that's fine. He's better if Cunningham's out. Grant, the price is getting up to where I don't love it. However, he's still going to be in the paint and can collect some of those rebounds that Cleveland's giving up. Prefer Stewart at the price. Grant's fine as a pivot, but I think Bagley's a better pivot to Isaiah Stewart. Let's see. Pulling up the old Discord. See what kind of questions we are getting. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, hopefully we can take something down here. I think the toughest game is going to be the late game, because we're not going to have the LeBron James news. I think Russell Westbrook plays. I know Carmelo's playing. We don't know if Dwight Howard's going to play. There's a lot of things that can happen. And on the other side of that game, if I'll get to it in a second, but it changes stuff on the other side of the game with the Washington guys too. If you don't have like a LeBron, you don't have a Dwight Howard. Favorite play again on Detroit. I gotta say it's Isaiah Stewart, 4,800. But if you don't have Stewart, you should probably play Bagley. Corey Joseph, if you want to get to him, 4,700. Totally get that. He's definitely better if Cade Cunningham is out and Killian Hayes is out. Killian Hayes hasn't been announced out, has he? Head contusion. They don't need to, they just don't need to put him in. I think he probably sits, which is going to give Saban Lee some time off the bench. He could crack maybe mid-20s, maybe. Probably 22, 24 max, I would think. Have to wait and see. On the other side of the game, Cleveland Cavaliers, I was all over Lauri Markkanen last night. Loved it. I had so much. I had like 50% of him, and then I put it on the cheat sheet. Then I dialed it back to like 25%, and I obviously was upset that I did that. I did the same thing with Barnes. I was getting like 70% of Barnes, and then I dialed it back to 25%. It was not my favorite, but they both went off. Made some money, but I wanted a honey thou. Anyways, all right. Lauri Markkanen in a good spot tonight. And no, it's not just chasing points. Detroit, where's it at? Detroit. I was listening to some Eminem today. Shouting out Detroit. Where's it at? There they are. All right. Detroit giving up 24 actual points to the small forward position, which is going to be the 5th worst in the league over the last 14 days. That is the worst on the slate, followed by the Charlotte Hornets right after the Detroit Pistons. If you're looking at actual points, 42.37 fantasy points to the position, rebounds almost 8 per game. And Lauri Markkanen, he's just hot right now. And it's not just last game. He's just shooting good. He's getting more opportunities. We need to know if Dean Wade, Dean Wade news. I feel like he's going to be out again. Yeah, he's out. So Lauri Markkanen, he's going to get to run again today. Good spot for him. Don't mind going back to him. People might be chasing him for last night, but I think that's okay. It's a short slate. He got 60 last night. That was awesome. Denver's bad against a small forward. Another guy that I like that I think is pretty damn sneaky is going to be Isaac. He's 4,000 over on DraftKings. He's getting huge minutes. Like he's playing like Raptors minutes right now, right? So it didn't correlate great with Markkanen last night because he shot the ball so much. Played 37 last night, 41 minutes the night before that, 39 the night before that. It has exceeded value in 2 of his last 4 games. Going up against Detroit, who's bad against the shooting guard. I believe it's the best spot to attack, if not the small forward. Best spot to attack. Allowing 25.70 real points. Now, Okoro's not a guy that like fills it up, but he can contribute in multiple categories. Detroit's giving up 43.64 fantasy points, worse on the slate and in the league, only behind the Kings and the Lakers. Give me anybody getting 40 minutes against the Detroit Pistons, and I'm pretty interested, especially at his cheap price when you don't have any Wade, you don't have any Jarrett Allen. Some other schlub is missing too. I can't imagine Hayes plays. Yep. 100K Jeep tonight with Solo David. I want that Jeep. I saw someone that Jurassic Park Jeep. I had a thing where I almost bought a Jurassic Park Jeep. God, I feel like I saw one recently. Oh, I was watching. I know what it was. I started watching that Mr. Beast channel on YouTube. And that if y'all don't know who that is, he's some kid that's like the richest YouTube guy in the world or something. And he gave away like 40 cars. And one of them was a Jurassic Park Jeep. I got like pretty jealous. I want the Jeep. I want the Yeep. Darius Garland, price is up, short slate. It's fine. Going against the Detroit, $9,100. Liked him last night. Had him on the cheat sheet last night. Denver, you can target all sorts of ways besides really the center. Dropped 54 last night. That's real good. You can definitely go back to him tonight. Really, all these cap guys like aren't bad. Mobley, obviously playing center with no Jared Allen. He's been getting more rebounds. I believe his assist rate is even up with no Jared Allen. So he's not bad either. If I've got to rank him and make a priority, it's probably I'm pretty close to putting Isaac Okoro as my top Cav as far as value goes. I'm pretty close to doing that. I think I will do that. I think he's good value today. Not at the expense of Josh Green. I like Josh Green better. But Okoro seems like a really good GPP flyer. Lauri Markkanen after that. Karis LeVert, I was hearing whispers he might even sit today. We got to wait and see. He got 29 minutes last night. He has not been great. Not real interested in him. Isaac Okoro, as far as value goes, number one. Markkanen after that, number two. Give me Evan Mobley, then Darius Garland. Those are going to be my guys. Kevin Love. I had a question about Kevin Love earlier today. He played 31 minutes last night. I don't believe the entire season he's got 2 30-minute games back to back. He's done like 33 and 24 minutes when they needed him to. He's had a 30. He had a 30 and 29-minute game back to back in December. 31 minutes last night, 17, 18 the 2 nights before that. Not terribly interested. Kevin Love. Hope it doesn't bite me. Cool. Moving on. Flying through it. Here's some questions. Oh, good question. So can you play? All right? So can you play Okoro and Markkanen together? No, you can play them together. It's 3-game slate. You can definitely play those together. But I assume you're asking me that because I said, and that's a good call out, because I said they didn't correlate fantastically last night. Let's take a look at how they've been correlating though recently. So Denver, Philly, LAC. So I'm going to say Markkanen had a good game. Denver, Clippers, Indy, Toronto. Okoro, Denver, bad game. Clippers, Indy, bad game. Toronto, bad game. Yeah, they don't. So 75% of the time over their last 4 games where one of them had a good game, they correlated negatively. Might be kind of a rash way to do it, but I don't think I'd play him in the same lineup. I don't really care that much about it. Like Lauri's not going to drop 60 again tonight, right? But I'm hoping for mid-30s from the guy. Or just over 30, really. I think that's enough on a 3-game slate. Okoro, give me 23 or something. Like, you don't need that from him. I would probably make a rule not play more than like 4 of the starters on Detroit. Not Detroit, the Cavs. I'd probably do that. I'm doing that with every team, really, though. I'm definitely not playing 5 starters from one team. That's going to correlate horribly. But on a 3-game slate, you might be able to get away with 4, although it's probably not optimal. Someone says, is this a Kojo game if Hayes sits? Oh, Corey Joseph game. Well, it also kind of depends on if Cunningham plays, right? So I don't think that it's all going to depend on Cunningham. So because Hayes wouldn't be in the starting lineup unless Cunningham was out. So if Cunningham is back in, that really just moves around what's going on the bench and actually takes away from Corey Joseph's usage in the starting lineup. So that's what it depends on. Now, if Cunningham is out, then yes, you can go to no problem with Corey Joseph. If you're looking at Cavs versus the point guard, they've been pretty bad actually past 2 weeks. I think a lot of this has to do with Jared Allen. Like, it's easier to drive to the basket on them for sure. But what they've been giving up more so than anything else per average is steals, which isn't something you can count on. They're still good at limiting actual points at 21, only 21 per game. That's really good. 3-pointers, they're good at limiting. Turnovers, they're good at limiting. Average and rebounds and assists. The fantasy points, for some reason, I don't know why, are up to like 50.36. Doesn't necessarily make sense, but that's like 8th worst in the league, and that's going to be second worst on the slate. So Corey Joseph is better if Cunningham's out. We're getting some news. It's not Cunningham news. Triple H is asking about 7K Kuzma a fade with Zinger in. All right, let's talk about that game. Is Porzingis in? I know he wasn't listed as questionable. He's probably in. But it's also Kristaps Porzingis on a back-to-back. Let me look. He doesn't have the Q tag, but I could just see it popping up. Maybe they want to run him. I don't know. Let's talk about that game. So, if you have any questions about Detroit, Cleveland, let me know. All right, Kuzma. Lakers at Washington. The house that Russell Westbrook built. Washington -2. 227.5 over under, largest on the slate. Whether that hits or not is yet to be seen. I should mention that the Cleveland Detroit game is a 216 total on the game, if anyone cares. Doesn't matter on 3-game slate, really. Here's the deal. Lakers don't really need to win. Flying in from Toronto to Washington, LeBron could sit. I think he sat last Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, or last Friday. Anyways, all right. So if he's in, it depends on a few things. So if LeBron is in and Dwight Howard is in and Dwight Howard is starting, that means LeBron's not starting at the 5, which would mean Howard's starting at the 5, obviously, which means LeBron's going to start at his normal position and be on Kuzma more than usual. Or not, I don't know if more than usual is the right way to say it, but he's going to be on Kuzma more, which is a bad matchup for Kuzma, right? If Howard is out, LeBron's going to start at the 5, and he's not going to bounce out to cover Kuzma as much, right? He's going to be down there around Porzingis land if Porzingis plays, right? So if Howard's out, Kuzma's good because LeBron's going to play the 5. If Howard's in, Kuzma's a little bit worse, but still good because Lakers are terrible against the small forward, regardless of what's going on, especially the past 2 weeks. You don't want LeBron on Kuzma, obviously, but it's still a fine price and a good spot for him going up against a high-paced Lakers team that's been bad against the position, no matter if LeBron's there or not. If Porzingis is out, gives more defensive. How do I say this? They're going to focus in on Kyle Kuzma more if Porzingis is out and Dwight Howard plays and LeBron James is playing not in the paint as much. There's a lot to kind of digest there. And I hope that makes sense, but that's just the way I'm thinking about it. You're going to have to do some late swapping if some of these guys are ruled out. But it's not guaranteed they are or guaranteed they're in. We just have to wait and see. It's NBA DFS. Hope that made sense. Ask me a question if it didn't. Here's a notification. Moses Moody. Doesn't matter. All right. So Lakers are really bad against point guards because Russell Westbrook is the point guard and he turns it over a lot. Neto and Smith are splitting the point guard minutes. They're, depending on how the game flow goes, they're going to get like 24 each, whatever. Have to wait and see how it goes. I think I prefer Neto because he's going to likely draw the start again, which is something I like, right? So last game, he got 24 minutes against the Knicks. So garbage. Like, they correlate terribly, right? So he got 24 minutes against the Knicks. Ish Smith got 14. Before that, Neto got high teens minutes, and Ish Smith got 23. They correlate terribly negatively. You're not playing them on the same team, but it's not a bad idea to get one. Lakers are bad against a point guard. That's the only reason you'll play them, and because of the price. I hate playing guys that aren't guaranteed minutes. I hate it. But it's a 3-game slate. It's a good position. You could do worse than Neto or Smith. But one of the guards should do well. It could be Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Whole team narrative. You know he's going to get minutes. 37 minutes last night, 27 before that, 35 before that. He's going to get 30 minutes a night going up against the Lakers. Last time he played the Lakers, only got 30 minutes and had just a terrible game in Los Angeles. Probably a party night for him. Only scored 7.75 points. Garbage. Against Portland the night after that, he dropped 42. It's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's terrible. You can take a shot on him. He'll probably be lower owned than he should be. Don't mind KCP if you don't have one of those other guards. Yes, if you want to play KCP and like one of the other guys, you can do that. It probably correlates negatively though. Let's see. Dan Gaff, Corey Kispert. Corey Kispert's been drawing the start and getting some minutes. I'd rather play KCP. Probably rather play Neto than Kispert. The shot just has to fall. And it can. Like sometimes he gets massive minutes. We've seen him get 39 minutes, like up against Portland. It was like 5 games ago, but last night he got 29, which might actually be good for him tonight on a back-to-back. He might get more minutes since his minutes were limited last night. It just depends on how he plays. Rui Hachimura, I've seen some people asking about today too, getting like 20 minutes, 3,600. Like it's hard to argue against anyone that's 3,600 unless it's like Precious Achua. Just okay, not like a ton of interest. Denny Avdia, has he been doing anything? It's kind of interesting. Bad game last game. Going to get high 20s minutes against the Lakers. Same small forward position that I was talking about that I like to target. Already. So with Kuzma, that's interesting. Let's see if they correlate negatively. Denver Golden State for Denny Avdia, big game. Yep, they correlate negatively, but one of them typically gets it done. If you look at just the past 3 games, one of them's getting it done. It's a really good spot to target against Los Angeles Lakers. Don't hate using Avdia if you don't have Kuzma. That's something I will probably put into the old FTN optimizer. All right. Man, I kind of like Zinger or Kuzma. What's Kuzma wearing? Anyone know? You kind of do want LeBron on Kuzma. His D's bad. Russ revenge game. Look, it's not. I'm not gonna say LeBron James defense is bad. Still LeBron James, and Kyle Kuzma's a goofy fella. But opposed to can. Hold on. Let me go back and. All right. Tell me who you want on your main guy out of the Lakers guys. LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Malik Monk, not bad. Carmelo Anthony, Talen Horton-Tucker, Austin Reeves. Like LeBron is still the best defender on that team. Regardless. So you don't want him there, but it's not like a death sentence. Like I still like Kuzma. Even if LeBron plays, it just makes me like him better depending on how the Lakers roll out that starting lineup, what position LeBron James is going to be in, and if Kristaps Porzingis plays. Patrick Beverley ejected. Hell yeah. I wish I was watching that, dude. I love when Patrick Beverley gets ejected. Here's a thing. Play Patrick Beverley next slate. He loves to go off after he gets ejected. Russell Westbrook narrative. Yes, this is true. He did play for Washington. This is true. I like Russell Westbrook. I wrote up Russell Westbrook. We can move over to the Lakers now. Let's see. What do I have on old Russ? Old Clutch Russ, I think is what I called him in the article. Old team, good. Washington, middle of the pack, defending the point guard, allowing 25 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. Back-to-back, don't love it. I wish Westbrook was still a triple-double threat. I guess he is, but man, we haven't seen one of those in a long time. Had a good game last night. Good for him. He got absolutely wrecked by some fans on his way out of the arena. If y'all didn't see the clips, just ragging on him. He deserves it, I guess. Not after last game. It was a good game. Westbrook definitely better if LeBron's out. Don't hate him though. Like I don't want to probably play Westbrook over. It's hard to say you want to play him over Garland, but if the game stays close, then I'd want him over Garland. Those are the two that I've been going back and forth on. I'd probably play him over. God, it's hard to say LaMelo Ball. I want to say LaMelo Ball. I'd play him over Terry Rozier tonight. Play him over Terry Rozier. It's a narrative. Malik Monk gets really good if LeBron James is out. Only 6,000. He gets a lot of usage when LeBron's out. He strung together a lot of good games when LeBron was out, especially at 6,000. He gets you over 30 for sure if LeBron's out. Melo, total GPP flyer. Not a ton of interest in him. Could work out, could not. Dwight Howard played 24 minutes last night. He either sits or gets like 14 minutes tonight. They're not going to let him play 24 minutes back to back. He might be out of the player pool. Austin Reeves, good game last night, overtime, 27 minutes. Hasn't typically been getting the 27 minutes because he hasn't been playing good, but he looked fine last night. If LeBron's out, sure, I guess, whatever. But no, I'm not like targeting Austin Reeves. Is there anyone else here I consider? Stanley Johnson got 30 minutes last night. He's a Fitbit guy. You don't really want a lot of him. You don't want a lot of him. Avery Bradley, no. DJ Augustine's been getting some minutes. Who's he taking the minutes from? Oh God, who is it? He's been taking minutes from Taylor Horton Tucker, but I don't know, man. Like if LeBron's out, then you start looking at your Stanley Johnsons, your Avery Bradleys, your DJ Augustines. But if LeBron's in, you don't have to get that far. Favorite Laker, Russell Westbrook. LeBron James right behind him. And I say that because it's hard to get LeBron and Luka in the same lineup. It's hard to do. Luka's my overall top guy. So you're not playing LeBron James at Luka's expense. If you can fit them both, more power to you. But if LeBron James is ruled out, you're going to be fucked because there's not going to be anyone to pivot to. Beef Stew 4,700 or PJ52. Give me Beef Stew. I went into a big thing about how it's a great matchup for Detroit at the center position going up against Cleveland with no Jarrett Allen. They've been third worst against the center as far as rebounds go the past 2 weeks. George Hill and Pat Bev ejected. Good for them. Someone let me know what Pat Bev did. Was it what was going on there? What was going on there? Did they fight? Did they throw fisticuffs? Need to know. All right, I'm going to sum it up. I'm going to sum it up here with the guys that I like the most. Please throw in last-minute questions. I'll hang around in Discord because I did the show early and it's a 3-game slate, and I'll help answer some questions. I tried to sum it up on the article, but things change. Favorite guys on the slate, Luka, get some. Josh Green, 4,000 on DraftKings, get some. Mason Plumlee, too cheap. Good spot for him going. Good spot going up against the Dallas Center more recently than seasonal. I'm looking at recent stuff. I don't care what he did in November. And then Kyle Kuzma, I put him in the core. That one I'm a little bit shaky on. Just because I've been trying to explain it the whole time. Like I need to see how the shit shakes out for the Lakers, how they're going to do that starting rotation. But if LeBron's on him, it's not a death sentence. It's fine. I'm pretty close to adding Isaac Okoro in there, by the way. Like, he's just too cheap and the spot's too good. Flip a coin, he might get there. 50% of the time, the past 4 games he's gotten there. So, great spot for him. Best spot to target for the Cavs today for sure. He's just, like, not that dude all the time. Who else was I thinking about throwing in there that we kind of discovered here on the show? I'm lower on Charlotte than everybody. Like, Maxi Kleber is going to get some minutes off the bench. I mentioned that. Beef Stew, I do like, but I like Mason Plumlee a little bit more. Don't mind using them both. Lauri Markkanen, I do like Lauri Markkanen again, and it's not just chasing. It's a good spot for him. Someone else. Oh, I like to, if I don't have Isaiah Stewart, I like to have Marvin Bagley. That's one of the hedges I'll be doing tonight. So, yeah, that's it. Let me double check one last time. Here we go. Green or Neto? Green. Give me Green for sure. Neto, like the minutes just aren't secure, which I don't love. He could get 24. He could get 18. I assume that Green's going to start. That does have to that does have to do if Green starts. Somewhat. He's still going to get minutes off the bench. He might even get more minutes off the bench than Neto gets when he starts, or it's going to be close. But I'm going to take Green there. My buddy just texted me, fuck it, Max bet Arkansas. He is tilting. All right, cool. That's it. That's the show. That does it. solo stuff. That was fun. I like doing it by myself. I don't have to argue with like Javi and Kyle, so that's good for me. All right, guys, gals. If you have any questions, hit me up in Discord. Enjoy some March Madness this Saturday, and hope you make lots of money. See you next time.